Welcome back to the shadows, my friends. This channel, you know this place. This is where the veil between our world and the realm of the unspeakable thins, where the whispers of the unseen grow into screams that chill you to the bone. Tonight we journey into the cold, sterile halls of old hospitals, places where life clings to hope and death lingers long after the heart stops. We'll explore the stories, the dark echoes left behind. Get comfortable, turn down the lights, and prepare yourself for the sinister spirits of old hospitals' dark echoes from the past. Let's begin. Our first stop takes us to a crumbling hospital overlooking a steel-grey sea. The salt air carries more than just the cries of gulls. It carries whispers of a tragedy that stained the hospital's history and birthed a vengeful spirit. Her name, whispered by those brave enough to speak it, was Evelyn. Evelyn, a dedicated nurse, her life a symphony of compassion played out in the quiet suffering of the wards. She knew every inch of this hospital, every creak of the floorboards, every sigh of the old boiler in the basement. Then one night a fire, a raging inferno that ripped through the hospital, consuming everything in its path. Patients trapped, their screams swallowed by the roar of the flames. Evelyn, selfless to the end, rushed into the inferno, a guardian angel amidst the chaos. She pulled patients from their beds, guided them through the smoke-filled corridors, her uniform singed, her lungs raw with the effort. But for all her bravery, for all the lives she saved, Evelyn herself couldn't escape the inferno's grasp. They found her the next day, her body a charred silhouette against the blackened walls. Now they say she walks the hall still, her spirit tethered to the place where she drew her last breath. A chill in the air, the flicker of a shadow in the corner of your eye, the faint scent of burning linen. These are the signs of Evelyn's presence. Some say she's a benevolent spirit watching over the sick and the dying, a spectral Florence Nightingale. But others, they tell a different story. They speak of a cold rage that burns beneath Evelyn's spectral form, a thirst for vengeance against those they say were responsible for the fire. A group of young interns, reckless and arrogant, their negligence with a discarded cigarette, the spark that ignited the inferno. They say Evelyn holds them responsible, that she stalks the halls, seeking them out. Her touch not one of healing now, but of icy retribution. There have been stories, hushed whispers in the dead of night. A young orderly working late, catching a glimpse of a figure in a nurse's uniform standing at the end of a hallway, her face obscured by shadow. When he turned back, she was gone, but the air hung heavy with the smell of smoke. A cleaning lady, alone on her rounds, swore she heard a woman sobbing in an empty room. When she cautiously approached, she felt an icy hand on her shoulder, and a voice, raspy and filled with sorrow, whispered in her ear, "They will pay." The stories continue, each more chilling than the last, fueling the legend of Evelyn, the vengeful nurse forever bound to the hospital where she died, her spirit a beacon of warning, a testament to the enduring power of anger even beyond the grave. Our next tale takes us deeper into the labyrinthine corridors of this forsaken hospital. We venture now into the realm of the forgotten, into the ward where time seems to stand still, where the air is thick with the weight of sorrow and regret. Here, amidst the rusting bed frames and the peeling paint, resides the spirit of a patient who never truly left. They called him Samuel in life, a quiet man with kind eyes that seemed to hold the weight of the world. He arrived at the hospital with a cough that wouldn't quit, a persistent ache in his chest that no medicine could seem to soothe. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and Samuel remained, his body wasting away within the sterile walls of his room. He'd lie in his bed, staring out the window at the world he was slowly becoming detached from. The other patients whispered about him, their voices hushed, but their fear palpable. They spoke of seeing him at the foot of their beds in the dead of night, his gaunt face illuminated by the pale moonlight. Nurses, hardened by years of witnessing suffering, found their resolve tested as they made their rounds in Samuel's ward. Charts would go missing, only to reappear later, filled with cryptic scribblings that resembled medical notes but made no logical sense. Equipment would malfunction, vital signs would flicker erratically, and always there was the feeling of being watched. One night a young nurse, new to the ward and unaware of its chilling reputation, was making her rounds. As she passed Samuel's room, she noticed the door slightly ajar. Thinking nothing of it, she pushed it open and stepped inside. The room was dimly lit, the air thick with the smell of disinfectant and something else, something metallic and cloying. And then she saw him. He was sitting upright in bed, his back to her, his head bowed. His hospital gown hung loosely on his emaciated frame. She called out to him, her voice trembling, but he didn't respond. Slowly she approached the bed, her heart pounding in her chest. She reached out a hand to touch his shoulder, and as she did, he slowly turned his head. His face, once so full of life, was now skeletal, his skin stretched taut across his bones. His eyes, once kind, were now hollow, black pits that seemed to stare right through her. His mouth opened, and a low, guttural moan escaped his lips. The nurse screamed, stumbling backward, her hand flying to her mouth to stifle the sound. She turned and fled, the image of Samuel's face seared into her mind. She never spoke of what she saw that night, but the experience changed her. She carried the weight of it in her eyes, in the way she walked, in the way she seemed to age overnight. She knew, as did everyone who worked in that hospital, that Samuel's spirit still walked its halls, a constant reminder of the fragility of life and the enduring power of the afterlife. Our final descent into this haunted hospital takes us to its heart, the operating theatre, a place where life and death once danced a macabre waltz, where the air still hums with the spectral energy of countless surgeries, some successful, some not. This is where we encounter the tormented soul of Dr. Henry Augustine, a man whose brilliance was eclipsed only by his ambition, a man who dared to cross the line between healing and playing God. Dr. Augustine was a legend in his time, a pioneer in experimental surgery. His name whispered with a mixture of awe and fear. He pushed the boundaries of medical science, his mind always searching for new ways to cheat death, to unlock the secrets of the human body. But his ambition, it was a double-edged scalpel. It drove him to greatness, but it also led him down a dark path, a path that twisted his genius into something sinister. Dr. Augustine became obsessed with achieving immortality, believing that the key lay hidden within the human brain. He conducted secret experiments, often on patients he deemed beyond saving, their desperate pleas for mercy drowned out by the clanging of surgical instruments and the doctor's own crazed laughter. His methods became increasingly unorthodox, his treatments more and more grotesque. He experimented with strange elixirs, with electrical currents, even with the transplantation of animal organs, all in a desperate attempt to cheat the inevitable. But his efforts were in vain. Death, it seemed, was the one patient Dr. Augustine couldn't conquer. And when his own time came, it was not a peaceful passing. It was a violent struggle, a desperate fight against the very forces he'd sought to control. They say that Dr. Augustine's spirit still haunts the operating theatre, his presence a palpable weight in the air, a chill that seeps into your bones. Instruments move on their own, surgical lights flicker erratically, and the faint scent of antiseptic mingles with the coppery tang of blood. Some say he's still searching for the key to immortality, his spectral hands still reaching for scalpels, his mind still consumed by his obsessive quest. Others believe he's trapped, his spirit bound to the scene of his greatest failures, forced to relive his gruesome experiments for all eternity. Whatever the truth, one thing is certain. The operating theatre is a place of palpable dread, a place where the veil between the living and the dead is thin, a place where the tormented soul of Dr. Augustine continues to wander, a chilling reminder of the price of unchecked ambition. The echoes of suffering, regret, and the insatiable hunger for forbidden knowledge linger in these halls. But for now, we must step back from the abyss, back into the light of the world outside. But remember, the shadows are always close behind, and the stories we've explored tonight are just a glimpse into the vast darkness that surrounds us. If you dared to enjoy this journey into the heart of darkness, let me know by giving this video a thumbs up, subscribing to the channel, and hitting that notification bell so you never miss a descent into the shadows. Until next time, my friends, sleep tight if you dare.